I've just walked in here, Lester.
Yep.
You're known as a bit of a short game specialist on the vlogs.
Yep.
But I've seen you cheating.
I'm cheating? Why is that?
Well, there's someone over there. You've been cheating.
Yeah, so I make no secret of the fact I've struggled short game for the past 10 years or so. Now, obviously, I play golf on YouTube, or I form a golf on YouTube, and it's got worse over the last few years. It's deteriorated and it's not good. So I have been working on a few things, which off camera, not being filmed, is working, but it's not perfect. But it's not paid. I'm not paying him. I'm buying him lunch. I'll buy him lunch, so it is a type of payment. But I've got a new short game coach.
Oh, who is it? Who is it, Lester?
Hello.
Short game coach for Lester.
I've been called a lot of things.
Here. I'm titling that here. Short game coach for Lester. Right there.
Can't see anything.
This could make or break your coaching career right now, right here.
I'm thinking my merchandise sales are going to have to go up a little bit, to be fair.
Retirement due soon, Chris, is it?
Yeah, seniors tour, here we come. So what we're going to do, we're going to get Lester to hit a couple of chips. We're going to have a little talk to him about where he feels his technique is, where he feels he wants to get to, exactly, that's more important, but also what feelings that he has, because obviously golf is a huge game about technique, but there's also a bit of a mental side to it, so we can have a little look at it all. We'll see how we get on. So, Lester, we've played a lot of golf together, haven't we? An awful lot, probably more than I would have liked to have, but we've played a lot. So what we're going to have a look at today, we're going to look at your pitching. Okay, now your chipping action, you can get away with that a little bit sometimes, because obviously the stroke's not as long, or there's not as much energy going into it, but the pitching is primarily strike. And strike is pretty much led by technique. So what I want you to do, I want you to hit a couple of pitch shots for me, like you normally would. Okay. So I just want you a little sort of 3/4, halfy kind of length swings, and we'll have a look and then we'll have a little chat. Okay. So just make a little swing there for me so I can have a see and see where the land is. Like I said, little sort of 3/4, little halfy chips. And let's have a look at that technique. And when you're chipping, what kind of feeling are you trying to generate? Sorry, when you're pitching.
I think you've sort of hit the nail on the head there, a strike. So I'm listening to a bit of sound, trying to make, not trying to dig it, but I do again, my angle of attack and how I actually strike location on the club can vary so much. I can dig it, I can lift up, I can fin it. So generally I can hit it all over the face. So I'm just trying to basically maintain, I guess, good height through, good starting position, and try and get some rhythm to it. Yep. That's really what I'm thinking of when I'm trying to pitch.
Okay. Just hit another one for me there a minute. Okay. Those two, they were pretty decent?
I mean, yeah, generally for me personally, that's a decent pitch shot. Yeah. If you're a proper, low single figures, you'd probably say no. The strike wasn't, one of them was low on the face, one was high on the face. Yeah. But for me personally, that would be acceptable, which is not where I want to be.
So for me, chipping and pitching, they have two massive key components. Firstly, your sternum has to be in front of the golf ball, because we're trying to get the golf club face to be coming down slightly on the ball before it touches the ground, and then it just shallows out quite nicely so the ball runs up the face, it comes out the middle of the club. Yeah. Secondly, there has to be, and this is a real big thing, and guys I see all the time, their body has to rotate. Everyone thinks, and especially putting, chipping, leads into pitching, the body kind of stops and the arms take over, and we all end at this kind of static area. We've got to get away from that. It's still a shot, it's still a rotation. A few years ago they did a survey, and it was all to do with the best pitchers and chippers down the years, and they started off with Bobby Locke, the South African, back in the 20s, and they went to Jack Tiger, Jason Day, what else have you, and there was two big key components that they all did. So if you take someone like Seve, had a bit of a sort of kind of lazy action, wasn't it? Yeah. You had this real kind of sort of floaty club thing. Jason Day, real stiff-wristed, quite firm with the hit. Yeah. the two things that they all do, their sternum starts in front of the golf ball and finishes in front of the golf ball impact, and secondly, they all rotate. They all have to turn. So for me, and like I said, we've played enough golf together now, we have to get that shaft to be leaning in a nice positive position with your sternum in front of the golf ball.
So purely that's a setup.
A setup thing,
Yeah.
And then from there, I want you to feel that you just literally turn these bigger muscles. So turn your shoulders, and then from there, I just want you to rotate into almost a full finish position. We're going to get your body to turn. So what we do in there, inevitably, and this is a little tip for you guys at home, if we can control this little thing here, and this face, more importantly, by our bigger muscles, so our sort of our chest, our lumbar, all our bigger muscles, and we don't use our fast twitch muscles, that's going to give us the best opportunity of striking it out the middle a little bit better. Okay. So just get yourself set up for me.
Yep.
So we're going to make sure your sternum gets in front of the golf ball. That's it. Lovely. Now from there, all I want you to feel is that you're going to make a nice little backswing, but I want you to turn, almost finish up on your sort of heel. That's it.
Yep.
Really want you to rotate that body a little bit more.
You want me to exaggerate the movement?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So it goes back to what you were saying just now, what you're currently working on. It's not too dissimilar.
Right. So belt buckle at target?
Yeah, belt buckle at the target.
Is that enough lean?
That's fine, that's perfect.
Yeah, okay.
Now turn.
That
sounded a little better straight away.
Yeah. That
sounded a bit more of a solid contact. And again.
I mean, you could probably just start that one.
Oh, it's the middle of the club.
That's better, isn't it?
It's better. And again.
Just got to try and keep a bit of balance this time.
You can do it, Lester.
So we're just going to get this shaft lean. That's
more,
it. Yep. Sternum in front. Perfect. Okay. Now turn. Don't use your hands or arms. Use your body. That's how a strike sounds.
Yeah, great shot.
Yeah.
And a little thing that I use, especially when I'm coaching, a friend of mine, Liam Bond, some of you might know him, he's got the tour rotation stick, would be fantastic for you because it will maintain that positive shaft lean. So all throughout the swing.
How do I use that? I mean,
just grip it normally.
Okay.
What all you're trying to do is to try and I do apologise, Liam, if you're watching, is to make sure this 1984 Escorts aerial doesn't hit the side of you. That's it. So your body has to turn, hence why it's called a tour rotation stick. Right. So what you're trying to do, as soon as you start losing the angle, your body stops rotating. This thing is going to start hitting you in the side quite a lot. If we can get your body, sternum in front, your chest to turn and your hips to turn towards the target, we're just going to be able to deliver this golf club a lot more consistently. There you go. You see the way your body's now finished. Belt buckle's at the target, chest is at the target, weight is comfortably rotated. Yeah. It's a real big area that I see with a lot of amateurs where they just refuse to turn. They almost kind of chuck the club at the ball and it's just not good. How does that feel?
It feels much better, yeah. 100% I felt before that I wasn't making much of a turn through. I just felt like I was, like you said, exactly that. Almost, you see at the driving range, people go boff and hit the ball. They don't move, they just literally can't, they've been told to keep the head down. Let
me jump on in there a second. I see it nearly every week. Every week when I coach, it's literally, even if they're set up quite nicely, ball's in a good spot, sternum's in a pretty good spot, they'll literally just go, there's nothing else going on. So all of a sudden your variable is like you could catch it fat, you could catch it thin, you catch out the toe, you catch out the heel. You've got too much stuff going on where actually all of a sudden, if we start controlling this by our bigger muscles, we can start delivering the golf club way more consistently. So when I first met Lester, for anyone out there, we've known each other since you were a junior many moons ago. Lester's technique used to be fantastic. He used to get the club set a little bit more into the backswing, into this position here, and I almost felt like you kind of dragged the club through a little bit, and you used to get that real low spinny flight. And that's because the body had to rotate. If it didn't, the club would bottom out way too soon and you'd just be catching the floor. So you develop that technique probably by yourself, to be fair, by hitting balls and coming here as a kid, and you know, is just by kind of almost getting that kind of draggy action, which is fine. Like I said, there's more than one way to actually pitch properly, but there has to be the building blocks, there has to be the fundamentals in place, and the fundamental has to be sternum in front, and then that kind of rotation where the club and your left forearm stays pretty much constant, you know. So that's where I'd like to get you to a little bit more often.
Yeah, I like that as well. It's not too complicated.
No.
It's not too much going on. I sometimes feel when I'm on the golf course, particularly when we're vlogging, once I've duffed one shot, I'm in basically in a haze. And me and Dan talked about my Sunday show a few months ago. I just literally no idea what I'm doing. Stand over the shot and then do whatever I do. And people say, "Oh, you're doing this, you're doing that, and you know, I appreciate the advice of people watching YouTube. But I feel like until you've actually been in that position, which several people will have, you just don't know what you're doing. You're literally like a rabbit caught in headlights, and there's no idea what you're doing. But those couple of little tips, I feel that they're not too difficult to actually remember. That's the first thing, and implement them as well. Yeah. So yeah,
definitely. Let's watch here. One more. So just because your sternum goes in front, it's a good tip for people at home. Yeah. Don't make sure there's not too much weight on this left side. The more weight on the left side, the more diggy that's going to make us. And we don't really want that. No. We want a slightly downward motion, but we want it nice and shallow, especially with the new camera techniques on TV now. You actually got like Jordan Spieth, Justin Thomas, and these great pitch chips with the golf ball. They're really shallow to it. Yeah. They still take a divot, and they see it's still a bit of grass comes up, but it's not this kind of dead dog burial ground. That's not what we're trying to create. We're trying to create that kind of skimming, the use and the bounce. Lots of guys, if you've been onto YouTube and social media, be engaging the soul. I don't like that terminology personally, because I think that masks a couple of things. But sternum in front and get that rotation. So let's watch it.
Just a quick question: should I be checking my divots when I'm pitching? They shouldn't be too deep. Just
your divot will tell you everything you need to know. If your divot is deep, then that means
I'm doing what you said. I've got too much lean and I'm got too much weight on my left side. Okay.
Completely. Yeah. And also the flip side of that is that if your divot is shallow or you don't take a divot, you catch it clean, inevitably we've kind of lost that shaft lean and we've lost that rotation, and it's almost like if you get on the beach and you skim a stone, that weight goes back, everything stays too shallow. There's got to be that release, there's got to be that turn, that rotation throughout the stroke. Okay. So if you're not fortunate enough to have a TRS stick, I would highly recommend you would look at getting one. They are fantastic. I use a lot for coaching, a lot of my peers use them as well. If you haven't, if you've just got an alignment stick or even an old shaft, just put it kind of almost down to the bottom, grip it up. Just make sure that shaft doesn't hit you. Make sure the shaft stays away from you. It's a bit more difficult that because obviously you're gripping onto the alignment stick as well. But it will give you instant feedback. I wouldn't necessarily recommend hitting shots with it. No. Okay. Some of you guys might have seen someone like Tommy Fleetwood uses this sort of technique a lot. Great picture of the golf ball. He kind of uses the TRS. But it's much more of you just getting used to getting that, holding that angle, using your bigger muscles. So if you just have a little go with that, just to show people at home what we're doing is we just want to make sure, if you stand face onto the camera, just make sure that shaft doesn't hit your left side or your left rib cage on the way through. And you see the way your body has to rotate, has to turn.
It's just using the bigger muscles rather than presenting that, isn't it? Yeah. Presenting the wrong angle of attack. And
well, as soon as that starts doing that, as soon as this shaft lean starts going positive, negative, neutral, whatever it is, you've got too many variables. You know, we can't even then fit you for a wedge fitting because we don't know what bounce you need. It has to be consistent. Yeah. So as soon as this starts doing this, then we're in serious trouble. And the easiest way of stopping that is sternum in front. We'll just increase your strike a little bit, and then we're just going to hold and rotate with the bigger muscles.
Brilliant. Thank you very much.
No worries.
So thank you very much for giving up your time and giving me a lesson. Hopefully that will help some people at home that are also struggling with pitching and the consistency and all the things that I'm doing wrong. But no, we appreciate Chris's time. If you like this video, please hit the like button, consider subscribing, ring that bell for any notifications, and we'll see you very soon.
See ya.